What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to another Warframe video. Today we're doing a list of the top 5 things I think that Warframe needs in 2022 to move the game forward. If this is potentially some things that, have been big holes in the game, some things that have been promised and haven't been delivered yet, or whatever. We'll be talking about some of those things today. Before we get into it, though, make sure you're subbed to the YouTube channel. Make sure you also check out the live stream channel to see when we go live, streaming some other games and this game as well. All right, so it's a top 5 list. There'll also be an honorable mention, which I think is something that definitely needs to happen. And this is just, like I said, a combination of things. Things have been promised, things that should have honestly been here a while ago, and everything in between. So we're getting some useless gameplay on the screen, and we're going to talk about number 5. This is So this is an order of importance. Number 1 is the most important, I'd say. Number 5 is the least important. So we'll start with number 5, and that's going to be a meta shakeup. And what I mean by meta shakeup is if you've been watching my previous videos about how puncture damage is not a very good status effect, corrosive procs have been nerfed, over-nerfed basically, and impact damage is pretty worthless. Like those types of things, what I'm looking for in a meta shakeup. And it could go even further beyond that, where it's like, well, there's lots of frames that aren't really used that much, like Hydroid, Valkyr, etc., etc. So, basically, big overall changes. If you remember the Warframe Revised update from like 2 years ago where they made viral procs like the meta, basically, that's when they nerfed corrosive and changed gas damage as well to be less powerful than before. We need another update like that, but we honestly, it might be like Arsenal Divide 2.0 as well, because the entire issue of single target versus multi-target guns in this game, it's still an issue. And they're probably going to just end up nerfing AoE guns, honestly. But I'd hope that they have a better solution than just that. But that would honestly take a fundamental change in how the gameplay of like enemies spawning and all that is going to be. So, biggest thing is I want a meta shakeup. I want some frame reworks that they're probably not going to do. I want damage type reworks. I want punctured procs to actually be good. Make them debuff the enemy in some way that makes you do more damage to them. Currently, puncture procs, like, basically just, I think they make the enemy deal less damage to you, so that's not usually an issue. And also, in turn, with this meta shakeup, I want survivability stats to be actually important. We're talking health, armor, and honestly, modding for shields. That should all be stuff that's important. Currently, modding for any of those stats is pretty much a bad thing and not super, it's not meta, honestly. So if you look at it like, I've got Umbral Intensify here, not running Umbral Vitality, that's because Rolling Guard is the meta, and getting your shield completely regenerated back to full, and getting your shield getting back, that's the current meta, with Augur mods, Brief Respite, etc. I'm not saying you need to nerf that, but I'm saying that we should have other options. I should be able to run a health build and have like the value, maybe make the base amount of damage reduction you get from armor go up or something like that. They're the developers, we're the players, but this is what needs to happen. We need to have a meta shakeup. It's been pretty boring for the last year. Viral slash. And since corrosive has been nerfed, we just basically bypass armor with slash procs. So I could rant on that one all day long, but let's move on to the next one. And I honestly think this is more important than a meta shakeup, because honestly, the meta is currently like, it works. It's not exactly interesting. Lots of stats and lots of frames are not very useful, but it works technically. Like, the game isn't like disappearing. People are having fun blowing stuff with AoE rocket launchers. But the next one I think is pretty important as well, and this is a long-standing thing that probably should have been done years ago. And that is a Borrow refresh / rework. Now, Borrow Katir does work, and he's the bi-weekly void vendor if you don't know that. He brings like prime mods and stuff like that you exchange for ducats to buy from him. He has been the same exact thing since he was introduced, like whatever it was, like 5 or 6 years ago. I think Borrow Katir needs to be more interesting. If you watch my previous video on giving Borrow Universal Forma, if you watch my previous video on we need augment mod slots, you could do either of those things, making Borrow have an actual, like, let's say you're at the point I'm at, where it's basically I have everything from Borrow. He's supposed to bring something new every week, but that new thing he brings is a reskin Cyandana or a new ship decoration. For me, I don't even think about Borrow Katir. I think that needs to fundamentally change, give people a reason to be excited for Borrow every 2 weeks, because he comes back every 2 weeks. So if you give him something that's an new evergreen item, like a Universal Forma for like 500 ducats, 1,000,000 credits, or something like that, twice a month I can get a Universal Forma, I will be looking forward to Borrow to expand my build possibilities and things of that nature. Now, we don't really have any content where crazy builds like that are super necessary, but that's going to be a later point. So Borrow rework in some way. I like it's not as desperately needed as you would think, but I do think that honestly, it's been long enough. Barrow he could use a little bit of a fresh coat of paint, honestly. So, moving on to number 3. This one is going to be this probably should be this could be these top 3 could probably be number 1, 2, or 3, honestly, as far as importance. But number 3 is a focus rework on, honestly, just focus in general, operator stuff getting looked at. Now, I do know this one is being worked on behind the scenes. I don't know when it's actually going to come out. So, focus is archaic as can be. We have the drifter now, but the drifter doesn't really do anything different than the operator does. Besides, a dodge roll is different. There are certain nodes on here, just for all the trees, that should probably be reworked, removed. We should be able to unspec from certain abilities in here. So let's say I don't want to. This is the best example right here. Let's say you're someone that wants to do an Eidolon fight, where you want to use the Void Strike, which is the current meta for Eidolon fights. And you also, you have to level up Void Radiance to get there. Void Radiance is a downside. If you level up Void Radiance too high, it makes you drain a bunch of energy when you leave Void mode, making it more annoying to do Eidolon fights. You should be able to unspec into these trees. Also, these trees should be more important. I was looking at some of these the other day. This one fires off a fireball from your Void Blast and deals 50 damage. They should make every focus tree interesting enough, make every node worth the million focus it takes to unlock it, honestly. I'm looking at half of these. I'm like, why did I even waste my time? Just completionist's sake? I think that Warframe needs to be more of just a collect-a-thon in 2022. We want to move forward as a game, be well-respected, and you want to make everything an actual interesting playstyle. That's a big part of this game to me, is interesting playstyles. And when I see half these nodes on Unairu are increased operator's armor by 200. Operator armor is base 100, if that. Void Spines. Damage taken is returned to the attacker. That is hilariously ineffective, the way the game is actually played, how much enemy damage is versus how much armor and EHP they have. So they could honestly rework 90% of these nodes, and I don't think anyone would complain, as long as they made them better, not worse. So I'd say that's a big one. Maybe even adding some new operator melee weapons or something like that could be kind of cool. But I think this is one of the most long-term. And the thing is, I know the Design Council has voted on new focus nodes on every tree. We just don't know what they're going to be, or if DE will actually add them. So yeah, expect this. I'm saying I'd expect this type of stuff in the next year for sure. A rework to the focus trees in some way. All right, moving on to the number 2 and number 1. So these two definitely are interchangeable. And I know a lot of people aren't going to really be... I've heard every argument there is for why Warframe can't have end game, which is number 2. Adding some actual cooperative, some missions that can't be soloed, some end game content. We're talking raids, dungeons, things like that. And I know you might be like, well, we're just going to do it 5 times and I'll never do it again. That's why they have to be smart about it. If you don't think that a Warframe endgame or raid can actually work in this game, I feel like you've never... First of all, that's a defeatist attitude. You should have more faith in DE if you're like that. And second, they can definitely make an endgame work in this, because look at any MMO out there. Or look at games that are very similar to Warframe. Let's say I have a lot of experience with Destiny 2 and Destiny 1. The raids in that game, they're not the hardest thing in the game. There's harder things than raids, but they do exist. They offer a unique challenge and opportunity to play the game in a way you don't normally do it. Think about it right now. Every mission in Warframe can be completely soloed. I can solo all 3 of the Eidolon fights. I can solo the big spider fight, the Prophet Taker. There is nothing you cannot solo. You can solo level 10,000 missions if you really want to, if you have enough time. So I think we need content that cannot be soloed. If you remember the old raids, I think the lowest you could man them was duo or quad or something like that. But whatever it is, they removed raids 3 or 4 years ago. That post that says the temporary removal of Warframe raids, that is almost 4 years old at this point, guys. And the way that they're setting up stuff in the new war, we need something after the new war. As far as I'm concerned right now, the air quotes end game for Warframe is Fashion Frame, which is Dolly dress up, or Barbie dress up, whatever you choose. We've got trading for platinum, which is give me some more Monopoly money, number go up. And then some people like endurance runs, which, that's a player-created end game, and there's no actual purpose to it. It's just enemy number go up, because the way that they change the enemy scaling with armor and all that, it's a joke compared to before. And then I'd say the only actual end game we have are Eidolon fights. And that's because everything else besides Eidolon fights is a player. We decided that's the end game. We decided Fashion Frame's the end game. We decided that endurance runs the end game. We decided that getting big platinum number is the end game. DE intentionally made Eidolon fights as it wasn't a complete replacement to raids, but if you think about the loot from raids was removed from raids when they removed raids from the game and put them in Eidolon fights. And they also require some of the most specific builds. You need like an amp, you need operator upgrade and all that stuff. Eidolons are a example of how endgame could work in Warframe. I just don't like the time-gated nature of them, and those rewards are rehashed at this point. We need new rewards. We need new cooperative content. I'd say don't make it soloable, but that's honestly up to DE as it's their game. We need something like that. I want to be able to talk to people about this game and be like, oh man, you gotta see the late game missions. They're so awesome. And at this point, if someone's like, hey, what's a late game situation in Warframe look like? It's like, oh yeah, you just honestly, just grind out platinum. So just do the low level, like level 40 mission, open your relic, try to get the Saren Prime part, sell it for like 200 plat. Yeah, there you go. That's the end game. Does that sound fun to you? That does not sound fun to me, but that is what is the case right now. So opening boxes, opening up relics, etc., etc. We need actual dungeons. I want to feel like, all these big builds. Because think about it, there's hardly anything that requires these big builds we're working towards after all these years. Something like that is, I think, that would be number one for me if number one didn't exist, we already have. So, number one, the most obvious, we knew this is coming, we know they're working on it, it's cross-play and cross-save. Now, we don't know when it's coming. It's supposed to come out this year. We don't know what month it will come out. I'm guessing around TennoCon, but the amount of things we don't know about crossplay and cross-save is actually kind of ridiculous. We don't know how the market's going to work. Are they going to merge all these like the trade platforms together? Like, am I going to be able to trade with someone on PS4 when I'm on PC? Will I be able to trade with someone on Switch when I'm on Xbox? Like, what's going to go on there? Are they going to lock your Tennogen and your Arcanes and Ribbons and stuff to the platform you're on? Will there be account merges? I heard there were supposed to be account merges. Let's say I have a PS4 account, and I want to only play on PC. So I'm gonna be like, all right, well, I've been messing around on PC. I also have my old PS4 account. Can I merge those together? That's what they said that they're gonna be potentially doing. So we have a lot of questions still, but that is the number one thing that we need in 2022. It is a long time coming. I'm sick of being like, hey, what platform are you on? It will eventually be, okay, everyone, you are not on a certain platform, you are just playing Warframe. So I could just swap with anyone I wanted. It will make the player base much larger. It will let people not feel like they're locked in. Like, I feel trapped on Switch. I want to switch to PC so badly, but I don't want to lose all my progress that I have on Switch. That is something that definitely needs to happen sooner rather than later, and I'm sure they are working on it, which is why that's the most important thing on the list, and things like a Borrow rework and a meta shakeup are the higher numbers on the list. All right, so that is the number one thing. We need that cross-save instantly. I'm going to just give a really quick honorable mention here, which is something that I think is very important, but I didn't know where to put on the list, and that is a forced modding tutorial in the intro quest. I really feel like they still, even after all these years, are still not explaining the fundamental basics of this game to new players. This is my personal opinion. I feel like if I am doing the intro quest and I'm like doing Vor's Prize, whatever it's called, I should be forced. I should not be able to go fight Captain Vor until they have forced me to make acceptable for a level 1 Vor build. So we're talking, I get stuck in this screen right here, and it's like, no, put on pressure point. It's like flashing. Put pressure point into the polarity. Show people what these polarities do. Show them that it's making the number on your weapon go up. Make it so like elemental combinations are explained to you as well. Because the way it is right now, new players are probably still running like the noob trap, like plus impact puncture slash mods, like Shredder or whatever it's called, and Fletch it. You need to like set players up for success so they'll be in your game longer term, giving you more money. It seems like a no-brainer to help people understand your game. So that is the top 6 list, I guess, because the honorable mention at the end. But I feel like this is definitely a very important thing as well, forcing a mod polarity, setting up players for success, not setting them up for confusion. But then again, you can always be like, well, them getting confused means they're going to go buy stupid stuff from the market. Because remember, you can still buy resources in this game. You can still buy mods that give you more damage. That's just how it is. So you see right here, like, I'm confused, I'm going to buy the elemental base damage mod set. That's probably what they want. 75 plat? I don't think these are maxed out. That would be kind of crazy. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Hope you found the video helpful. If I forgot anything or anything that you think is more important, let me know in the comments down below. I'll be checking those out. And thank you so much for the support, guys. Take it easy. Peace.